Have you ever wondered how some men manage to keep a steady mind, even when surrounded by chaos? Michel de Montaigne, one of history's greatest thinkers, had the answer. Today, we're going to reveal how his lessons can transform your ordinary mindset into that of a king. Stay until the end, because it could change the way you see yourself forever. Number 1. The greatest thing in the world is to know how to belong to yourself. This quote by Michel de Montaigne carries a powerful truth that has been forgotten in the age of social approval. From an early age, we are conditioned to follow standards, please others, seek acceptance, and avoid rejection. But Montaigne reminds us of something fundamental. As long as you are trying to fit into other people's molds, you will always be trapped. Belonging to yourself means being sovereign of your own mind, master of your own choices, and captain of your own soul. It's not letting other people's opinions define your worth. It's knowing how to say no when everyone expects a yes, and knowing how to stand firm even when no one supports you. Most people live like subjects. They serve the wishes of others, the trends of the moment, social expectations. But those who belong to themselves live like kings. They create their own reality, set their own limits, and walk with dignity. Montaigne teaches us that true freedom is not doing whatever you want, but being who you really are, without being ashamed of it. It's accepting your imperfections, valuing your virtues, and trusting in your vision of the world, even if it doesn't please everyone. Belonging to yourself takes courage, because it means giving up the comfort of external approval in order to gain something much more valuable, internal respect. And this respect is the foundation of true self-esteem, mental strength, and inner peace. When you belong to yourself, no one can buy, manipulate, or destroy you. You become invincible from within. And that's where the real power begins. The power to live with purpose, speak with truth, and act with integrity. Think about it. Are you living as your own master or as a slave to other people's expectations? Perhaps the time has come to take the throne of your own life. Number 2. The mind is the real battlefield. Michel de Montaigne understood something that many still ignore. The greatest conflicts we face are not in the outside world, but within ourselves. It is in the mind that fears, doubts, comparisons, regrets, and insecurities arise. Before any battle takes place outside, it has already been fought and often lost. Inside, you can have it all: money, recognition, physical strength. But if your mind is in disarray, none of it will do any good. The mind can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. And the most dangerous thing, nobody sees when you're losing this war. You smile, you work, you talk, but inside you are fighting a battle against destructive thoughts, limiting beliefs, and inner voices that sabotage you all the time. Montaigne knew that mastering the mind is more difficult than mastering armies because it requires constant vigilance, deep reflection, and the courage to face your own shadows. The undisciplined mind creates imaginary monsters. It turns small problems into major catastrophes, but a trained mind is like a fortress, firm, calm, and unshakable, even in the face of chaos. And how do you train this mind? With silence, reading, self-knowledge, confronting the ideas that weaken you, and replacing them with thoughts that strengthen you. The king who doesn't control his mind is easily manipulated. The man who doesn't organize his thoughts will be commanded by the thoughts of others. Remember, before you can win in the world, you need to win within yourself. That's the real victory, and also the hardest. So every day when you wake up, know that a silent battle begins again, and the choice is yours, to be the mind's hostage or its commander. A king doesn't run away from the internal war. He enters it with honor and comes out stronger. Number 3, knowing yourself is the greatest wisdom. Michel de Montaigne, a master of introspection, understood that no external knowledge surpasses the power of understanding oneself. Why? Because everything you experience, interpret and feel first passes through the filter of your mind. You may have read 1,000 books, traveled the world, or followed all the rules of success, but if you don't really know yourself, you'll keep repeating the same mistakes, sabotaging your own progress, and being held hostage by impulses you don't even understand. Montaigne said, "Every man carries the whole form of the human condition." In other words, within you are all the virtues and all the defects of humanity, and the wisdom lies in recognizing them without masks. Getting to know yourself is not a pretty process. It's uncomfortable. It's looking in the mirror and seeing your weaknesses, your contradictions, your vanity, your most primitive fears. But that's also where you find your true strength. When you accept your imperfections honestly and decide to grow from them. A king doesn't deceive himself, he analyzes himself, he doesn't blame others, he takes responsibility. What about you? Do you know what lights you up, what destroys you, what are you avoiding facing? Most people live on autopilot, repeating inherited patterns, running away from the truth about themselves. But Montaigne teaches us that there is only freedom when there is lucidity, and this lucidity only comes when you have the courage to dive into yourself without filters. You only know yourself if you observe yourself with discipline, if you write, reflect, question your impulses, and seek meaning in your choices. When you know yourself, you become unpredictable, unshakable, and impenetrable by the opinions of others. Because now you understand who you are, what you want, and what you can no longer tolerate. And that, in today's world, is a form of royalty. So look inside, face your ghosts, discover your light, because those who know themselves are in charge, and he who commands himself reigns. Number 4, too much emotion is weakness. Michel de Montaigne, with his brutally honest wisdom, knew that those who live hostage to their emotions are doomed to instability. He said that fear kills more than the sword, and that goes for any uncontrolled emotion: anger, envy, anxiety, jealousy, neediness. All these internal forces, when left unchecked, destroy clarity, distort reality, and turn a human being into a slave to momentary impulses. Montaigne didn't deny the existence of emotions. He understood them, but he didn't let himself be dragged down by them. In times when extreme sensitivity is sold as a virtue, we forget that true power lies in keeping a cool mind. Coolness is not insensitivity, it's self-control. A king doesn't despair. He observes, he waits, he chooses calmly. While others react, he acts with intent. Too much emotion intoxicates judgment. How many decisions have you made in the heat of the moment and regretted later? How many times has anger made you say the wrong thing, or fear prevented you from doing what you needed to do? Unbridled emotion is a prison without bars. But Montaigne proposed another path, that of disciplined reason. A cool mind sees far. It weighs up consequences. It protects you from yourself. And above all, it preserves your dignity in the midst of chaos. If you want to lead your life, you need to be bigger than your impulses. This doesn't mean turning to stone, but using emotion as a tool, not as a master. Those who explode easily lose respect. Those who despair at the first obstacle lose their way. But he who dominates the heart with the mind becomes unstoppable. Montaigne invites us to train this noble coolness, not as an escape, but as a strength. In the end, the kings who remained in history were those who faced storms with serenity. What about you? Will you continue to be tossed by the waves of emotion, or will you take the helm firmly? Number 5, cultivate free thought. Michel de Montaigne, one of history's greatest essayists, lived at a time when conformism and the imposition of ideas were the norm. That's why he deeply valued freedom of thought, understanding that this freedom is the basis of all intellectual And personal greatness. Thinking freely doesn't just mean having your own opinions. It's much more than that. It means questioning everything, including your own beliefs. It means not accepting ready-made truths, nor being bound by dogmas imposed by any authority, be it religious, political, or social. Montaigne wrote to understand himself, not to please others, and it is precisely this honest and courageous search that should inspire you. In a world where we are bombarded with opinions, manipulated news, and superficial information, cultivating free thought is an act of rebellion and intelligence. It requires the courage to doubt, to take a stand against the majority, to accept that your ideas can change and should change as you learn more. Free thinking is also the antidote to fear of the unknown and mental slavery. It opens doors to creativity, innovation, and a true understanding of the world and of oneself. Montaigne reminds us that a free mind is a living mind that constantly renews itself and does not allow itself to be imprisoned by prejudice or ignorance. If you want to become a king of your own life, you have to start with this step: exercising the habit of thinking independently, with courage and humility. Read, question, debate, write, reflect. Don't settle for easy answers. Allow yourself to make mistakes and learn, because only a free mind can see beyond appearances, resist manipulation, and choose the best path with clarity and conviction. Cultivating free thinking is therefore one of the greatest weapons for building a life that is authentic, powerful, and truly yours. After all, only a king who thinks for himself can rule his kingdom wisely. Number 6. Power lies in inner silence. Michel de Montaigne, master of deep reflection, knew that true strength does not come from external noise, empty words, or impulsive actions, but from the quiet space we manage to create within ourselves. We live in an age of constant noise, incessant information, social networks, external pressures, and seemingly endless demands. In this whirlwind, inner silence seems like a rare luxury, but it's actually a vital necessity. Silence is not just the absence of sound, it is the full presence of oneself, the encounter with one's own essence. It is in this quiet space that the mind organizes itself, emotions calm down, and clarity emerges. Montaigne, with his ancient wisdom, taught that those who know how to withdraw into silence are not overwhelmed by the storms of life. This recollection creates an invisible fortress, a protection against external influences that divert us from the path. In inner silence, you listen to your own voice, not that of others, not the noise of the world, but your truth. This is where intuition, creativity, and the strength to act with purpose are born. Cultivating this silence is a daily exercise in presence and self-control, where the mind learns to observe without reacting, to feel without being consumed, to think without getting lost in distractions. It's the space where true power reveals itself, the power that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone because it already knows who it is and where it's going. Montaigne showed that by mastering inner silence, man becomes impenetrable, serene and strong, able to face any challenge with poise. So if you want to be king of your own life, start valuing those moments of stillness. Turn off the noise, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and immerse yourself in your silence. There, at its core, lies the power that no one can take away. The calm that transforms chaos into opportunity and the restless mind into pure wisdom. Number 7. Courage lies in being yourself, despite everything. Michel de Montaigne, throughout his essays, revealed an essential truth for those seeking authenticity and inner strength. True courage does not lie in great external feats, but in the daily endurance of remaining true to oneself, even in the face of the pressures and adversities that the world imposes. Being yourself is a radical act, especially at a time when conformity is the norm and criticism is swift and merciless. Montaigne knew that courage requires facing not only external challenges, but also the internal voices that doubt, question, and ask you to give up. It means looking inwards, accepting your flaws, recognizing your imperfections, and moving forward with integrity. To be authentic is to resist the fear of judgment, the desire to please everyone, the temptation to hide behind social masks. Montaigne's courage is an invitation to take on your own story, your own opinions, your own values, even when this puts you in opposition to the majority or when loneliness seems to be the price. This courage transforms fragility into strength, fear into action, and uncertainty into freedom. It is an act of rebellion against the falsehood and superficiality that so often dominate our lives. Montaigne shows that there is no greater power than the power to be true to yourself, because this power is immune to external attacks and internalized like a flame that no one can extinguish. The courage to be yourself is therefore the path to becoming king of your own life, a king who doesn't bend to the wind of opinions, who rules with authenticity, and who inspires by example. So even when everything seems to conspire against you, even when the world demands a different version of you, remember, the greatest bravery lies in being exactly who you are, without excuses, without masks, without fear. That's the real victory. The victory that Montaigne celebrated, and that is within the reach of everyone who has the courage to accept themselves completely. Michel de Montaigne didn't write to impress you. He wrote to provoke you. His essays have spanned centuries because they speak directly to the soul of anyone who thirsts for clarity. He doesn't offer you magic formulas or ready-made answers. Instead, he invites you to think, to doubt, to dive deep into yourself and emerge stronger. In this world where so many live on autopilot, Montaigne shakes us. Think, question, decide for yourself. It's not about appearing wise, it's about becoming master of your own spirit. And that takes effort, it takes vigilance, it takes courage. The mind needs to be honed like a sword, sharp, firm, silent, and deadly against illusions. Those who master themselves don't need to master others, because they have already conquered the most difficult territory, their own inner self. So, before continuing with your routine, take a break, not to consume more, but to reflect. Are you thinking for yourself? Are you living with intention? Are you being true to your essence? If the answer is not yet, Montaigne wouldn't judge you. He would just smile and say, "Start now." Only for those determined people who stayed until the end of this video, comment below, "I stayed until the end." That way, I'll know who really wants to take control of their life once and for all. Take care and see you in the next video.